Hello everyone, welcome back to the Football Uncensored podcast with myself, Rob Kirton, and John Sitton. We're recording straight after the previous episode. If you're watching this one and both Monday evening as we speak, uh, welcome back, John. I think we should probably just sort of try and draw a line under the main bulk of our previous episode, talking about probably the biggest football related story of the day that um, everyone's seen on the news or on Sky Sports or on various forms of social media, and a certain prominent ex-England international footballer, pundit on Sky Sports, who's offered the opinion that the likes of um, me, you, I dare say, a lot of our followers and listeners are a big part of the problem in this country. And you've made like I said, a fairly passive analysis of what was said, quite quite neutral. And I just want to say I can't disagree. Like I said, I thought it was a wind up when I first saw it. One of those AI created things. Oh, he can't possibly be this stupid, can he?
Yeah,
To
you can.
say that,
Yeah, you can. Sometimes in
but
life, there are just some very, 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 very extremely lucky boys in him and his brother, or two of them, to get anywhere near England. So all that about I've got 85 England. Just let me elaborate. Without, I'm not backtracking because I'll come up against. Believe me, I'll come up against all of them. I'll come up against all of them. Your Whitehursts, your Urlocks, your Joneses, your Soonesses. You know what I mean? This ain't a silly little row in a tunnel where your mate who thinks he's can handle himself and he can have a tear up steps in on your behalf. You know what I mean? And him as well. We ain't got the pedigree, not to take me on. Um, Obviously away from football. I'm absolutely incensed. I'm incensed because in my walk of life, you call someone a dog, it means that they will turn on you where you've welcomed them into the fold and they're part of the family. They've turned on and bit the hand that feeds them. And that's exactly what he's done because white middle-aged men, white middle-aged working class men, probably of which we're well within that demographic, probably had the misfortune of watching him play, and probably had the misfortune, the greater misfortune, some of them, of having to pay to watch him play. And it's all very well being part of the golden generation. Well, if you carry it on dot 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 dot, it weren't the golden generation because that's like a massive umbrella general overview. Everybody's included. He was part of a team that had members of a golden generation, both at club and international level. Um, what can I say? You know my track record. If I was at the Sky, I'd sack him because this is like political. And like I said, which I shouldn't be doing really because I don't give a monkeys. He's well, like he said, Christie's. He's wadded up. You know what I mean? He's probably well wadded up, and it's just to pass the time of day now rather than get fatter on the beach. Um, uh, I'd give them the tin tack, but we know their track record. You know what I mean? So all your thing, your overlap, and you stick to football, all the little subsidiaries of it, which I've watched and really enjoyed.
mm,
Uh, I mean, it's not as if like he gives in-depth analysis and he asks in-depth questions. They're all very superficial, but I enjoy like the little one-liners from Roy and Jamie Carragher and then the guest, etc. Um, yeah, what can I say? He'd get his
well,
marching orders. But when you can get away with like the other geezer, what he did with the geezer and his daughter on the way back from a Man U Liverpool game and still being reinstated, then I'm not in the least bit surprised if he just carries on adding to his fortunate fortune.
yeah, it'd be interesting to see what, if anything, is employers that Sky Sports do. But like you say, uh, one of probably their other main pundit, really.
Yeah,
I think he served a suspension for gobbing on a
he
kid.
did. He did.
But you know,
That's why I
he's
said he
got
was reinstated.
yeah. So we'll see it.
Let me
Um,
let me just very quickly. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying I'm not backwards in coming forwards when it comes to opinions on everyday current affairs, politics, national politics, geopolitics, a little bit, London politics, the black cab trade, football. I'm not backwards in coming forwards, but I'm pretty sure that when someone quite well known and I up at TalkSport started to help me and help promote me book and said it was a great read, etc., and gave me it's his top read of all time. It's since he told me sorry, but I've demoted it to number two now after a book about Bobby Moore. I'm pretty sure that when he said that he intimated that he was going to put my name forward to do have a spot on that station. Um, Probably my disposition and misdemeanor frightened people off. The fact that I was outspoken, I might have put, there might be an occasion where I just basically put my foot in it, said the wrong thing at the wrong time, and they didn't want to take that chance. You know what I mean? So, how many more chances are these multi-millionaire socialists going to get? That's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Probably a few more than you did. That's
He's only in the position he's in because people like us paid to see him.
yeah. Well, he'll probably get a few more chances than you did, and that's where I'll leave the matter for the time being. But I'll provide a loose link. Um, join the dots if you can. We're gonna talk about a club probably hated by the main subject of our previous episode, and a club very well supported by the other pundit lucky to be in a job that we've mentioned. And we're going to talk a little bit about Liverpool, John, if that's all right with you. Obviously, a good start of the season, as we've mentioned, albeit a few very late shows in Europe as well as the league, getting them the wins. This since we last recorded, and in this last calendar week, three three defeats, two in the league, one in Champions League, and the two league defeats, I think I'm right in saying, were both injury time winners. One for Palace and one, the most recent one, your first professional club, Chelsea.
Yeah.
So Liverpool, how hard as it's nearly half term in the school year, what's your sort of half termish report for Liverpool? How do you view their start?
Um, Needs to improve. Or I don't know how they'd word it. A teacher, one of my old teachers, needs massive improvement. Um,
Could do better.
Part of the con with regards to the substitutions at fullback. I've never been sure about him, and he's confirmed it 100%. I don't rate him. He's one of those comes into the sort of ballpark generalisation of big, strong, powerful athlete, but not a lot going on in there. That's Kanati. Um, gets caught doing silly things, gets caught on the ball, gets caught squeezing up when he shouldn't squeeze up, gets caught dropping off when he shouldn't drop off, lets people turn. What gets him out of jail is his pace and power a lot of the time. I don't subscribe to the con, but it's all part of the con. Me personally, the way I'd word it, who am I to tell them? If someone questioned me about me fullbacks, especially the recent purchase for I think it's 40 million from Bournemouth, Kirkes, I'd say I've got every confidence in him. I wouldn't have paid 40 million for him. He's going to get there. Um, I like him a lot. Uh, I'd word it appropriately so that I would praise him to I Evans to give him a little boost if he watched it on the telly. I'd have a word with him individually, and I would definitely wouldn't allow any cracks to appear, which I made the mistake of doing in the little documentary. Right, you say what you need to say behind closed doors. But what
Hmm.
I'll do, I'll just say I've got every confidence in him. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given 40 million for him. He'll get there, and he's beginning to understand the Liverpool way, etc., 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 etc. Instead of which he's gone, well, we're still trying to bed him in, and he's still trying to get used to us, and we're still trying to get used to him. Paraphrasing, but along them lines in articles I've seen and quotes on telly, and he's chopping and changing with Robertson. All right, so that don't do anyone any favors. I think
No.
they've caused themselves a problem by buying, being greedy and buying both players up front, but they let go of Nunes, which everyone was crying out for him to do. Um, I don't think his conversion rate to the ratio of chances was good enough. So that you're looking the top echelon, like the real, like top draw. Like I argue with Lord Hudson over who was the better out of the two, and my pick was Mo Salah, and he picked the other guys who they sold to the German club. I forgot him, the little black kid. Anyway, they bought
Diaz.
Ekatike and Isak, and I think it's strength in depth, but also caused themselves selection headache.
Mm.
Um, but good for the player because you're going to play at most half a season. You know, if you play most of the season and you only play for an hour, well, in my book, that's half a season. You understand? So there shouldn't be any excuses. They should be fresh. But he missed some big chances. Isak, he's already getting pelters on social media from some of the Liverpool supporters. Yeah, so it remains to be seen. They rely heavily on the goalkeeper. That's going to cause a problem now that he's injured.
Yeah,
I should
out for
imagine
a
there'd
few
be
weeks.
intense treatment. Don't know the injury, but he looked like he was struggling. When he looked struggling as he went down to make the save. He's tweaked something. That's ligament damage or muscle damage, which won't heal for a couple of weeks. Then he's got to get match sharp and up to speed. They rely too much on him and Van Dijk. And Van Dijk, a bit of portion of his game is taken away um, by having to keep an eye on the other geezer, Kanate, because he anything can happen with him. So what happens is if you're alongside a centre back like that, I've been a problem to a fella centre back, and a fella centre back's been a problem to me. You understand? Whereby like I'm playing with Mickey Droy, and Mickey's thinking like I'm only a kid, anything can happen. So it affects his game. And then I've played with people, I'm not going to name who, but I've played with people and I've looked and I've gone, well, anything can happen. So it's taken 10% off my game because you have to compensate and you're
Yeah.
not as efficient as you should be. But they'll be up there. I think I'm looking at how City are positioned now, how they're placed, and they're just starting to gather momentum. Liverpool, Arsenal are obviously top. I suppose you've got to put Spurs in the mix, but we'll see whether he can make that final push from um, Brentford, which is a smaller club compared to Tottenham, to a big club. But they're going on about drastic improvement and what an impact he's had. Like I said, you know, story from behind the scenes, that weren't hard. That wasn't a big leap.
No.
And anything on the previous geezer was going to be an improvement if you insisted on, don't like he said, you know, don't be a dickhead, uh, turn up on time to training, meetings, meal times, um, and then the training field, the work on the training field. So it wasn't a giant leap. It's just that he's appropriated and implemented those things, and they're reaping the dividends. And Newcastle, they'd be my uh, what's that, five?
Yeah.
Arsenal top. I've said uh, Liverpool, City, Newcastle, Spurs. That yeah, I don't think there's going to be a lot of change unless some by some but they're struggling the front player. Um, and they're suspect at the back because the centre backs are getting old together. Everton, unless Everton make inroads. But what it is, new environment, new stadium, bigger support, bigger numbers. Um, and with experience that he's got, Moyes, he's allowed that he hasn't been too iron rod. I think he's let Jack Grealish express himself and he's recognised what he can bring to the party. And you can see, and he said that the other in his interview, like not word for word, but like how he's enjoying it, and he's waking up and looking forward to getting to training, looking forward
Mm.
to seeing the lads, looking forward to playing, and he's playing with a big smile on his face. And I think they're reaping the dividends of that. Yeah. So that'll more or less be my top six, I reckon. Palace,
Okay.
Palace, very efficient, but I think it's his last year.
What, the
So
manager?
yeah, I think it's his last year. So unless there's rumblings over the next October, November, December, and he signs a new contract, that could fall off a cliff, mate. Because no matter how good you are, once players know you're going, don't matter who you are and how good you are, it goes like that.
Well, you've talked about that before. Obviously, in relation to Klopp making his announcement with Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. So that'll be interesting to see if you're right and he's off, and if it does come out and the form of Palace. So we'll follow that through the season. Obviously, Everton, like you say, new ground, shiny new ground, new talisman in Grealish. So there's a lot for the fans to be
Yeah.
optimistic about and following. And I dare say there's a few. I mean, Nuno's taken over at West Ham, but I dare say there's probably been a few West Ham fans over the last season or so, casting some oh shit, what have we done looks towards David Moyes, and after West Ham dismissed him.
He got blood out of a
That's,
stone, Moist, and I'm picking up the thread of Shearer, who picked up the thread of me, without seeing me, obviously, but said on Match of the Day what I'd said
he
in
might have done.
many previous podcasts. West Ham's a very difficult club to manage. That's his words. What I did, I elaborated on it, and I even went as far as to say it don't matter who the manager is, it's about the players, and they've got too many players who are not good enough. And I'll say from this early, if West Ham don't get involved in a relegation scraps, it's only because there's teams worse than them.
There don't look to be many of them at the moment. As we've said and you've said from the start of the season, it's still very early,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
too early to make any solid predictions. We might have a few early thoughts on that, but yeah, at the moment, not that many teams, if any, looking in a worse state than West Ham. Maybe Nuno can
I don't see with West Ham what
sprinkle
I
a bit of
see with
magic.
Wolves. Wolves are bottom. So, like, okay, you've got to cut out them individual mistakes. You've got to stay on top of things. They went to sleep for the corner, where they conceded in the last minute. For the other mob, I think it's Brighton to get the equaliser. But you say, you know what, tidy that up, keep drilling them, stay on top, make sure they get plenty of rest, plenty of cold plunges and massages, and lots of good food in between games. Make sure you stay on top of them in terms of training. So that's your goalkeeper in your back four. They've got a bit of creativity and a bit of athleticism and people who help flood the box in midfield. They've got pace and power and creativity up front, which is not firing at the moment. But you can see, you know what? That comes good. Someone's going to take a beating 1 week and then watch the confidence go ballistic. You know what I mean? So you can see a way out, a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas I'm looking at West Ham, goalkeeper a back four, not nowhere near good enough. Don't look well drilled enough, which Nuno might change and inject that. Like I said before, midfield in previous podcasts, too similar, too lightweight, too easily bullied, don't compete. Got a bit of creativity in Paqueta. Up front, struggling apart from Jared Bowen.
Mm.
So no real strike force. No one. Oh, this we've got this geezer this week. Oh, unbelievable pace, or what? Unbelievable spring. What a threat in the air. If they get a supply of crosses in, you ain't getting it. He's going to get across you. You know what I mean? He's built like a cruiserweight boxer. He's like powerful, um, one powerful individual, one powerful player, etc. I don't see any of that with West Ham. But facing West Ham wouldn't frighten me. I've got to be truthful.
It didn't frighten Arsenal much at the weekend. That was a stroll in the park
They
for
have it right. It was 2-0, but they won it. They won it in third gear. They could go up. They could go up another 2 gears.
I'd say second, but yeah, it
There you
was.
go. There you go.
Um, well, as you say, it's internet. It isn't, as you say. I think it might have been the previous episode. Might have been this one. Doesn't matter. It is another international break. England have got, I think, it's a friendly against Wales, and then a qualifier
Yeah.
after that. I
Yeah.
believe Latvia. Correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but there's only one qualifier out of the two. Thomas Tuchel named his squad.
Yep.
We touched on it. I think it was in the previous episode or one before. Should he go with the bulk, or if not all of the squad that performed for him in Serbia? A very impressive performance, as you've analysed. Please go back and watch, everybody. John's analysis of England Serbia, or should he go back to some tried and trusted who might be fit again and didn't make that squad? He's named the squad. Literally, the one change is Madueke out and Saka in, and that's only due to injury. Other than that,
Well, ain't is it?
he's
If he's left Bellingham out, hasn't
yeah. But Bellingham, I don't think Bellingham was in the last one because of injury, but he hasn't recalled him
he? Yeah.
in this one. That's caused a bit of a
Yeah. I think it's brilliant personally because it coincides. Maybe Tuchel did watch our podcast because I said he's getting too flash, too Larry, too big for his boots.
yeah.
He's overindulged. I didn't word it like that, but I did say that what he's doing is he's trying to do too much and he's overindulging. You know what I mean? And he's coming across as a bit, everything's sort of got to go through me, which maybe at times it should. But then when it does, you've got to make the right decisions. I look to peerless performances that I saw by the likes of Ray Wilkins and Brian Robson and Paul Gascoigne. So if the plan needs to be indulged, um, like he says, Roy, you better back it up at the weekend or you better back it up in the next 90 minutes.
Mm.
Um, when he's talking about, I think he was talking about Beckham on the Netflix documentary, and also in the studio when they were talking about him at Man United when they did the Stick to Football podcast, which I watched, which was good entertainment. Um, I did intimate that I thought he was getting a bit arrogant, a bit too big for his boots, or a bit flash, overindulgent. So it's a win-win. You know what I mean? Because what he's done, he's sent a message to the player. He was injured in the first one, but he's not bringing him back for the second one, as in saying we can take or leave you, knowing that we really need him, right? But if push came to shove, I'm ruthless enough to leave you out if that's the case, or it might convey that message without conveying the message because he's giving him a rest and a
Yeah,
chance for himself, which I'm sure is the case, also, if not more so, to look at other players. Don't forget how much I praised Anderson.
yeah,
Different position, but what it does, it gives because of Anderson, it gives Declan Rice license to do what I've been saying for 50 podcasts he should do, which is drive more, help flood the box more, get on the end of crosses more, let more shots fly, follow stuff up, play little give and goes, etc. So he gets a goal from a rebound at the weekend. He gets a goal from an header in the last international, right? So he says, yeah, you know what? If there was a problem with the other one, as in Bellingham, I can push Declan further forward, knowing that I've got Anderson, with fantastic performances, um, to help screen the back four. Yeah. So
Rice, of course.
you ain't going to find a lot out other than like it just maybe rotate the squad and they give a few
Yeah,
people a chance. Me personally, I'd go with different formations. I wouldn't even play the same formations. I'd play with the formations. Like I used to talk to Brian Istick when I was coming through my coaching badges, and he said the beauty of youth coach sits, or the beauty of friendlies, or the beauty of pre-season is you can play games with the game. So he should be experimenting with players. He should be experimenting with shape, with tactics. Because if you can't adapt back to think double lively, then you're thick as pig shit and you shouldn't be playing at that level anyway. You know what I mean? So
fair point. I
yeah, I
mean,
just think like play games with a game. And
yeah,
he don't have to bring him in, Saka, although he probably will do. But let's say, you know what, let's go with this formation. Let's try this. Let's try this movement. If we needed to revert to this if they said they'd nickel right and just say as an experiment for not a bit of a laugh, but a bit of an experiment and a bit of a laugh. What I want you to do is I want you to play like this for the last 20 minutes and
mm,
go like what the Yanks call in hockey and what they called it when I was meant to go and play in the National Indoor Soccer League with Dallas Sidekicks. Um, they call it a power play. So
yeah.
basically, it's to see out the 1-0 and see whether we've got the discipline to do, etc., etc. You can try stuff, but
Okay. Well, we'll see.
you
We'll
don't
see how
know.
they go.
Yeah,
We'll
telly
see how they
being
go.
telly, media being media. You know, if it goes belly up and it goes a bit tits up, it is
Yeah.
on. You know, I mean, he's on hiding to nothing.
No, exactly. Goes to the church, unfortunately, being a national or being the England team boss.
Yeah, but it's all
Rob, we're good.
claptrap though, Rob. Because it's all. I mean, I was watching an interview last night. It's an old interview, but I was just flicking through watching. I couldn't sleep. I felt thing after Saturday, and I was watching an old interview. Gerard Lampard and Ferdinand, with a Sky presenter, I don't know the geezer's name, going on about the so-called golden generation. Well, there was a golden generation of a few players. They weren't all golden generation, but how they never used to communicate on England duty, and they sat on separate tables, and they went from being really
Mm,
close mates to we didn't talk to each other because we didn't want to give anything away at club level. What's that got to do with it? What's that got to do with England? What a complete and utter claptrap, garbage, total
yeah.
con, total nonsense. When you're there with England, you're there with England and your mates, you're together. All that, and you had Ferdinand saying, well, it went from that to a long table, and then it went from the long table to everyone changing chairs and sitting back by their mates anyway. But before that, he said you had the Man United table, the Liverpool table, the Shearer table, and the Chelsea table. You know what I mean? What complete and utter garbage. What, that's an
Yeah.
excuse why you didn't, the best you did was a quarter final. Nah, not for me.
All right. Fair point. I mean, I'm all for the in right attitude to international football, but we moving on, we've got to wrap this one up. Unfortunately, we are running out of time with England. As you've outlined, it's all going to be about how Jude Bellingham and other players as well, not just him, react to being left out of the squad. And if he reacts in the way he should, in the right way, I'm sure he'll be back in the. I'm sure he'll be back in the next one. There's no way he's not going to go to the World Cup or anything like that. But like you say, maybe Tuchel's sending him a message. Maybe he decided to do that after watching you on here. Who knows? Maybe he does watch. Just to wrap things up, because I know this will be a quick answer, but I wanted to ask the question because I saw a quote about it online earlier today. These days in football, you get a lot of punditry analysing various stats. Some of them useful and mean something. A lot of them, to me, it's like, it's like being back at school and listening to an algebra lesson, which I wasn't that great at or that interested in. This one of the main ones is this XG or times G, which I think is expected goals that you're going to score in a game, whether that's a player or a team. Just quick for us, sum up your thoughts on stuff like that, because to me it seems like it's an excuse to give pundits to
Have a rest, have a
talk.
breather, give them something to talk about
Yeah,
because the analysis ain't that in depth and that great anyway. So it gives them some other nonsensical, Americanized bullshit to talk about. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's garbage. I don't know who calculates it. I don't know how it's calculated. And if you wanted an example of artificial intelligence and what it can do to something, there's your example. You know what I mean? There's only one statistic that matters. That's the one at the end of the game.
yeah,
And you
couldn't agree.
can't, from game to game, as I've highlighted with Postecoglou, you can't predict what games you're going to win and what you ain't going to win. And I'm going to target the League Cup. I don't care about the FA Cup. I don't care about the Premier League. I'm going to target the FA Cup, the Europa League. It don't work like that because it's sudden death and you could get hammered at any given time. You know what I mean? And it's the same with that. So I'm not sure how you predict it. If it's previous form, well, we know Liverpool's previous form was like 5 for 5. Now it's 0 for 3 or whatever it was, 6 for 6, straight through,
Yeah,
boom, blitzed everybody, not a blot on their thing, and now all of a sudden they've gone 0 out of 3. So how'd you calculate it? If ever you wanted an example of what some sort of artificial intelligence, and believe me, I think it exists in some human beings as well, going on the last 24 hours, um, there's your answer.
succinctly put. Right. You don't hear me say that to you very often.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll see what you did there.
yeah, try that humour again. We'll
Yeah,
get
yeah,
there. We'll get
yeah.
there. Right.
What we
So
do,
we're gonna.
we get Tim Vine up on YouTube, see if we can nick some material.
Yeah, I'll revise during this week. Right. We're gonna wrap this one up. So thank you again for watching, everybody. Hope you found it interesting. I certainly have. We will try and do another one next week, possibly to review how England have got on without Jude Bellingham and one or two others. If not, we'll be back hopefully after the next round of league matches. So good night from me. Thank you once again. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, show your friends everything that you can do to spread the word, please.
Cheers, Rob. Thanks for your time, and thanks for your time, everyone, especially the loyal watchers, followers. Watch, like, share, subscribe, and hopefully we'll keep them coming. All right. Thanks for the questions, Rob. Much appreciated. Have a
Speak
good rest
soon.
of the night, mate. Cheers.